Muslim migrant melts off wife's face with boiling oil. If you're a radio listener, go to Infowars.com and look at the WorldNet Daily article. And she got home, and he pulled back the shower curtain of her husband and said, have a look. And he was holding a pot of boiling oil. And he dumped it over her face. We're going to come back and talk about this. But see, that's killing people's dreams as well. That's what radical Islam, and most of Islam now is about, is enslaving people, controlling their minds, controlling their dreams, and mutilating them if they don't submit, and dominating women. And that's why the left loves it, because they hate women, they hate reproduction, they hate power, they hate the power of the goddess archetype. And that's why they claim they want to represent it, because they want to dominate it and kill it.
Jake Tapper of CNN, who is normally quite a smart guy, asked a really dumb question of Donald Trump. We're going to go ahead and play that clip. Here it is.
Last night you told CNN, quote, Islam hates us. Did you mean all 1.6 billion Muslims?
I mean a lot of them. I mean a lot of them.
Do you want to clarify the comment at all?
Well, you know, I've been watching the debate today, and they're talking about radical Islamic terrorism or radical Islam, but I will tell you there's something going on that maybe you don't know about, and maybe a lot of other people don't know about, but there's tremendous hatred, and I will stick with exactly what I said to Anderson Cooper.
So there's Trump responding to Jake Tapper's question during last night's debate, and obviously every time there's a major terrorist attack, such as Paris, etc., and people make the point over and over again that Islam has a problem with violence, the common retort is always, well, are you saying that all Muslims are terrorists? No, that would be ridiculous, and that's never been part of the argument. Imagine if Trump had come out and said what Jake Tapper, clarified this as. Imagine if Trump had come out and said, all 1.6 billion Muslims in the world hate America. That would be a ludicrous statement. No one would ever seriously try to argue that. So why do they try and frame that as Trump's argument? Why do they try and frame anyone's argument who says that there's a violence problem with Islam? Why do they try to frame it as, oh, why are you suggesting that all Muslims are terrorists? No, nobody ever said that. Now, Marco Rubio shot back with his own comments. He kind of almost topped Jake Tapper for idiocy in responding to this narrative. Here's Marco Rubio.
2 days ago, I met this extraordinary couple who are on furlough because they're missionaries in Bangladesh. It's a very tough place to be a missionary. It's Muslim. And they tell me that today they have a very hostile environment in which to operate in, because the news is coming out that in America, leading political figures are saying that America doesn't like Muslims. I'll also tell you that if you go to any national cemetery, especially Arlington, you're going to see crescent moons there. If you go anywhere in the world, you're going to see American men and women serving in uniform.
Rubio, during last night's debate, basically trying to claim that Donald Trump is responsible for Christians being unsafe in the Muslim world. That's what he was implying with those comments. When we know that ISIS was executing Christians long before Donald Trump came along as a presidential frontrunner. When we know, according to this recent survey released by Open Doors, this investigation, Islamic extremism is the main source of persecution in 41 of the top 50 countries. That is, 82% of the world's persecution of Christians is being committed by Muslims. So Christians are unsafe in the Muslim world, not because of Donald Trump making comments, but because of violent Muslims persecuting and killing them. And no, my argument is not that all Muslims are violent and that they're all persecuting Christians. That was never the argument in the first place. Trump's point that Islam hates the West is in fact borne out to a large degree if you look at the figures, if you look at the polls regarding Muslim attitudes to Westerners. Muslim refugees welcomed to Canada with call to destroy the enemies of Islam. Muslim refugees arriving in Alberta, Canada were welcomed by a pro-ISIS hate preacher who called for the destruction of enemies of Islam and prayed for jihadists to, quote, hit their targets. This is a preacher in Canada. This is not in Afghanistan. It's not in Pakistan. It's in Canada. He's welcoming the refugees coming into Canada by saying basically that he advocates terrorism, he advocates jihadist attacks, to destroy the enemies of Islam, which of course is the West. So when Donald Trump says Islam hates the West, this proves that he's got a point and that it's not an outlier. It's not a ludicrous statement to make. And as I've made the argument many times over and over again, it's not a tiny fringe minority of Muslims that believe this. It's a frightening number, and in some cases, it's a majority of Muslims, especially when you look at Muslim attitudes to the West amongst Muslims who are living in the Middle East. And on that subject, we've got this article out of World Net Daily. Muslim migrant melts off wife's face with boiling oil. This is the very tolerant, inclusive culture that we're importing into the West. This is our cultural enrichment, pouring boiling oil over women's faces. Of course, the feminists don't care about it. They're too busy complaining about manspreading and other gross violations of women's rights like that. When Homer, the 48-year-old wife of Muhammad, pulled back the shower curtain after her husband told her to have a look at what he was holding, the pot of hot, boiling oil in his hands was not what she expected. In a matter of seconds, her face was gone, melted, and the right hand she raised to protect herself permanently fused shut. She was left with burns over 44% of her body, scarred forever to restore her husband's honor. So basically, the husband got jealous that she was interested in another man. No proof that she'd even had any contact or sexual relations with him. And of course, the rational solution to that, if you believe these tenets, is to pour hot boiling water over that woman's face. That's a completely reasonable response, I guess you would agree. Of course, not a peep from feminists, nothing whatsoever. Here's another story out of Breitbart. Quote, people like you should be shot. Muslim taxi driver beat up gay couple for kissing in his cab. Muslim taxi driver in Vienna, Austria, punched a gay man in the mouth during an altercation over what does and does not constitute acceptable public behavior. That's what's happening in Austria as part of this cultural enrichment.
My fellow InfoWarriors, I am very excited to be able to announce to you the introduction at InfoWarsLife.com of a new way to save time and money when you stock up on InfoWars Life formulations like Survival Shield X2 and Super Male Vitality. Just go to InfoWarsLife.com today, select your favorite product, click on Auto Ship before adding to cart, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. Every time you choose Auto Ship at InfoWarsLife.com, you get 10% off and you won't have to worry about running out and having to reorder next time. And of course, you can cancel with one click anytime. As you know, I'm all about the idea of a 360 win, and the new auto ship feature at InfoWarsLife.com is a sure win for everybody. A win for liberty, a win for health, and a win when it comes to big savings. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today and save 10% on your next InfoWars Life order by selecting auto ship at checkout. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.